So we're going to do a little video here regarding a specific graph which appears on the network summary dashboard and also on the troubleshooting dashboard. And that graph is about access point airtime percent consumption. So airtime really means just the every access point operates on a radio channel, and in 1 second of real time, there is 1 second of potential airtime. That is time during which either the access point or one of its clients is actually transmitting data and therefore occupying the channel. You don't want, in fact, to be reaching very high levels of occupancy of your total percentage of airtime, because what you want is for any particular client or access point, when it has something to send, to be able to send it pretty quickly, and it needs not to be waiting in a long queue because the channel is permanently occupied by umpteen other clients or the access point itself that needs to transmit data. So it is a good idea to keep a close eye on the total percentage of available airtime which is utilized. So you come down to this graph at the bottom, which is top 10 access points by airtime utilization. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually zoom in on this and bring it up into full screen. And the other thing is that you really need to be looking at airtime in as short a context as possible, because if you're looking at airtime over 24 hours, and it says that over 24 hours, your airtime utilization is 0.5%. Well, you need to remember, first of all, that we don't use the channel at all from 6 in the morning, or from, let's say, 4 in the afternoon through to 6 in the morning. So for well over half the day, there is no airtime utilization at all. So if you average out over the whole day, you'll get an unrealistic reading. And the problem is that our graphs will show us airtime utilization over 7 days, over a day, and even over an hour. But a lack of availability of airtime is a problem in terms of fractions of seconds. If I have got a video packet which I need to send, or let's say a voice packet for a telephone conversation that has to go over the wireless, and even for a few seconds, airtime utilization is so high that that packet can't be sent, that is going to affect the viewing of the video or affect the ability of me to conduct a telephone conversation over a wireless link. So the only scale that makes any sense for us is the 1 hour scale. So if you wanted to look at airtime, you really need to be looking at the last hour. And so you're going to need to potentially decide when your busy periods are, knowing when there is the most wireless activity in terms of instruction or testing within the school, and then go in and look at airtime on the 1 hour graph. So we're actually looking at Atlantic High School here, and we've got our top few access points are actually showing pretty high levels of airtime utilization. 20% is pretty high. And you'll notice that these are in fact on the 2.4 band. Now, Atlantic has got primarily 5430 latitude laptops, and they are single band, so that makes sense. And these values don't overly concern me, except that with 20% being the hourly average, and in fact, if we look here, so 1.6, 7.8, so it's a little bit under 20%, but with that being the hourly average, so if you imagine that over the hour you have peaks and troughs of utilization and then it averages out to 20%, you could well imagine that there may be short bursts during which utilization might be significantly higher. So 20% is quite a high level, and you might actually be interested in looking at that and figuring out where it's happening. So if we look at the top three, the ones that are above 10%, we've got 116 BCO, 39E9CO and 112540. The first thing you want to look at is does this high airtime utilization actually correspond with high levels of traffic transmission across the radio channel? You would certainly hope that it would, but it doesn't always mean that there is this correlation. So you would say, okay, well, let's go up and look at the top 10 access points by data transmitted, or Wi-Fi client usage they call it here. But you'll see the first one is 116 BCO. If we drag down, yeah, that is indeed the one that's carrying the most traffic, is also showing the most airtime utilization. Okay. 122.840. That's actually not here. But let's look at 39E9CO. Let's see if that one's up here in this graph. 39E9CO. It is. You will see that it is all 2.4, and it is number 4 in our list. So, I mean, that's okay. That kind of corresponds. 122.840, 11D640, which are high data users. See, interestingly, they're not here. So there may be something going on insofar as airtime utilization can also be high because the radio channel is not being used efficiently. And by that, what I mean is that when a client accesses the radio channel, they can access it and transmit the data at a different speed. They can be transmitting very fast or very slowly. And sometimes what you may be seeing when you see high airtime utilization but not a lot of traffic is that there is an issue with the quality of the link between the client and the access point, which is causing the transmissions to slow down. Therefore, it takes longer to transmit a given amount of data. So just to give you a concrete example, I am going to use more real time to transmit this voice data because I am transmitting more slowly. And if you see high airtime utilizations which don't seem to match up with high traffic, then you may be having an issue potentially with Wi-Fi clients which decide to connect to an access point that is not really very close to them. Therefore, the conditions aren't good, and the rate has to be slowed down. So I think that probably suffices as an overview on the airtime utilization graph. What I would recommend is that you do keep an eye on your airtime utilizations. What you're potentially going to see is simply that there is a lot more legitimate traffic on a given access point or set of access points, which would lead to the necessity potentially to expand the number of access points in a given room or area. Or you might also be seeing some kind of anomalous situation which is causing a very inefficient use of the airtime, and that might also need addressing. Okay.